Okay, I think that means we're live. And so with that, I'll kick off a brand new school year of IBS negotiations. Welcome back, team. We were just together, weren't we? Interesting times we're in, but it's terrific to see you all and to welcome one new face to the group, Kristin Powers, principal at Riverdale Elementary School. Yay, welcome, Kristin. And Dave Mussetter, I'm going to turn it over to you to facilitate us this afternoon.
I will do that. Thank you very much, Mila. Welcome back, everybody. We'll start with our usual check-in. It's who are you, position in district, how are you, time constraints, issues or elephants, expectations, and what is a chore that you hate to do? All right, and Kristin, I put you last, so you can see how this works as people are going through, okay? All right, let's start with Matt. Is Matt on? There he is, yep.
I'm here, Dave.
Okay.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Matt Schmidt. I am the principal at Pathways most days, including today, I believe. I am holding on tight. Let's see here. I don't have issues or elephants. I don't think I have any time constraints at this point in time. My expectations are we will figure out whatever we need to be figuring out. I'm trying to go with Lara's kind of start here. We'll do some talking about some things that are probably related to remote learning and figure it all out like the way we do. And let's see, chore that I hate to do, pretty much any chore, not a fan of those, but I will choose dusting right now. I hate lifting the little things up and dusting around them. And part of it's just because it's one of the things I do, so I'm sick of it. But yeah, I'll choose that one today.
Sounds good. Mila.
Hey, wow, that rolled around to me fast. Hi, I'm Mila Shepard, Chief of Human Resources. I do know how to alphabetically go through this list, and I am always after Matt, so I should have not been surprised. I'm doing well. We are just going as fast as we can, and I apologize for issues with the timeliness of notice on this meeting today, and that's a symptom of overload. But any case, yeah, I think we're just going to get a start on some of the issues that are unique to our time right now. And a chore that I hate is vacuuming my car. Vacuuming the carpet in the car. Yep, hate that.
Allison.
Sorry, did you say Allison?
Allison, yes, I did. Okay. Sorry about that.
Okay, well, I'm Allison Alter, and I'm a social studies teacher at Horizon High School. I'm doing well today. I feel like second day back, and I am like a combination of like everything's fine and also running around like a chicken with my head cut off. So yeah, I don't have any time constraints because I heard this goes till 6, right? Yeah, so I'm good. No issues or elephants. My expectations are to talk about stuff, yeah. And then a chore that I hate packing anything, like packing up the car to go for a weekend away, packing a suitcase. I love going places, but I hate packing.
Teresa.
Hello, Teresa Barajas, Assistant Principal at Northland Middle School. Welcome, Kristin. I'm excited to see your face here today. I'm doing well. I just am one of those people, though, that I like to know what's coming. And, you know, with this new way of teaching and learning, every day is different, and I don't know what to expect. So have a little anxiety around that, but you know, I was thankful to see all the teachers back and happy about that. So it gave me some energy. No time constraints, no issues, no elephants, expectations, just ready to see what the agenda looks like and what we're tackling today. And a chore that I really hate, I'm kind of like Allison, I hate packing. I love to travel, but I hate to pack. But another part of that is like laundry. I hate doing laundry. So my hubby helps out with that.
Very good. Deborah.
Hi, I'm Deborah Blake, special education teacher at Arapahoe Ridge Elementary. I am doing well. We had our first day of Schoology training, which the training went really well, but that was on top of personal classes that I took all summer to get better at Google Classroom and Seesaw, and now I'm not using any of them. Yeah, thanks, Heather. Yep. However, it was a good training and I have taken classes on it. So through the student lens, it makes a lot of sense. So it was well. Other than that, I am well. No issues, no elephants, no time constraints. We do have Sandy and Linda missing, I think. And expectations are to find a good solution to whatever it is we're going to be discussing. And a chore I hate to do. All of them. I hate doing dishes. So I cook, my husband cleans. Works out pretty well.
Shelly.
Hello, welcome back, everyone. I'm Shelly Durock. I teach third grade at Meridian Elementary, and I'm doing okay. I think the process of depersonalizing classrooms and removing personal property is a chore beyond what maybe some people realize, especially for a teacher like myself who's been teaching for 30 years. Yeah, I obviously have too much stuff, and it's not just removing it, it's finding places for it once it's removed. So that's been taxing. I also found today's Schoology training to be a little difficult. I fell behind and completed about half of the modules I was supposed to because I was struggling a bit, but I'll figure it out, I'm sure, at some point. I know we'll do good work. I can't believe we're starting already, but I know we have a lot of unique circumstances that we have to move through. And I don't mind laundry so much. It's the folding and putting away that kind of is my stumbling block.
All right, Heather Espinoza.
Hello, Heather. I teach second grade at
Heather, you're frozen on us. Heather, I'll come back to you, all right? Colleen.
That was fast. Hi, Colleen Gardner, Shutteridge Middle School 5th grade math teacher. I find myself jealous that you guys got your Schoology training today because I would like the trainings earlier so that my independent prep time is actually prepping for something instead of trying to find things to do. So I'm jealous, all you people who got your training today. No time constraints, no issues or elephants. I expect to find out what we're meeting about. The chore that I hate, and come on, you all hate it, toilets, cleaning the toilet. I had a cleaning lady for 3 years. I didn't have to touch it for 3 years, and then I had to let her go.
All right. I don't see Bo on. Is he not made it on yet? Okay. I'll come back to him too. Chris.
So I'm Chris, superintendent. I'm good today. This is always an anxious time of year for me as we are at the spot where educators and principals are back and you wonder what's going on in buildings and they feel like the work we've done over the course of the summer is the right work to support them and get them off to a good start. And obviously this year that's on steroids. So wondering, and it's nice to hear a little bit of check-in about how that's going, and worried and also optimistic at the same time about the year ahead. No issues or elephants, no time constraints. Expectations for today is we work through the practical issues that we need to work through so that we're supporting educators in the work of serving our kids well in these unique circumstances. And in terms of chores for me, I'm a little bit like Shelly. I actually don't even mind the folding of laundry. It's the putting it away that for whatever reason I just hate. And I often confuse my daughter's and my wife's clothes, and you'd think I'd be able to tell them apart, and that part is just always a train wreck for me.
Got it. Heather, I'm going to come back to you. Are you on with us?
Well, I think so. Am
Okay.
I on?
You're on. You're on.
Okay.
Try it again.
Sorry. Heather Espinoza, second grade at Woodglen. I was saying I'm not sure how I am, but we are here. No time constraints, no issues other than tech ones, obviously. Expectations to talk about and figure out what we're talking about today. And the chore I hate is cleaning the bathrooms. So I want to be clear, my bathrooms are clean. I just don't enjoy cleaning them.
Gotcha. You made it all the way through without freezing, Heather. Thank you. Yeah, Heather. Heather Grecius.
Hi, everybody. Good to see you again. I'm Heather Grecius, Director of Elementary for Student Support Services. I'm doing great today. We've gotten a lot of great work done today and got to see some folks in buildings, so that always makes me happy. I have no issues or elephants, no time constraints. My expectations are that we figure out what we're doing and get it done. And I hate pretty much the end of any chore. So like you talked about packing, I hate unpacking. I hate putting away laundry. I hate putting away dishes, anything at the end. It's not really for me.
All right, Kathy Plummer.
That was a really good one. Hi, everyone. I'm Kathy Plummer. I'm on the Board of Education. I'm doing pretty well today. No issues or elephants. Let's see, Sandy, Linda, and Bo are missing. The chore, my expectations, again, I don't know what we're going to figure out, but I know we'll figure it out. And the chore I hate washing floors. It's just the worst. So that's what Heather said.
Sounds good. Is Darren on? No. Okay.
Kristen replaced Darren.
Gotcha. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Laura Mitchell.
Hi, I'm Laura Mitchell, and I serve on the Board of Ed. I'm doing much better tonight. I've been taking care of my mom for 3 weeks. She had a heat stroke. And Chris, she got her hair done today. Yay! So that was the cue that she was feeling so much better that she was good enough to go get her hair done. And so that means that I might make my flight on Saturday morning to go see my kids before they get back in this remote learning environment and start, tagging in with all you guys all day and giving you lots of trouble. So pretty excited about that. I have no time constraints. I got my mom's internet working today, so I'm actually in my childhood bedroom here. For the last 2 board meetings, I've had to go to my cousin's house and worry whether they're going to crash the party and totally embarrass me. So I have no issues or elephants. My expectations are we're going to remember everybody. It seems like we really wasn't that long ago, and it probably wasn't that we were here. And this has sort of been the looping summer because we had board meetings and we're back with IBS. So you just keep going, and hopefully we're going to have a great year. And my least favorite chore, meal planning. I don't do it, never have. Deciding what we're having for dinner, I'm terrible. So.
All right, Marty.
Marty McCarthy, principal of Thornton Middle School. Doing okay. I feel like every day is climbing up, feeling better, and then feeling like crap for a while, and then feeling better, and then feeling like crap for a while, which is what I also feel about most chores. So I hate chores that just seem you're just doing them so you can do them again, like putting away laundry, like Chris said. I mean, you could just leave it in the basket. It's not going anywhere. Put it right back on, making the bed. You know, other ones like doing dishes, washing floors, at least you know that that's done until you eat again, I guess. I don't know. Seems different. But no issues or elephants. I expect us to continue the work in this weird times, and it's good to see everybody. I'm getting used to seeing people on Zoom, and it's nice to be back in this group. So good to see you.
Thanks, Marty. Dave Lockley.
Afternoon, evening, whatever it is. My name is Dave Lockley. I'm the president of the District 12 Educators Association. I'm doing well today. I was telling someone else that it was funny. I've actually, this week I've been dealing with problems I actually know how to deal with, like normal kind of problems and issues and whatnot. So it felt really good to know how to solve a problem, because most of what we've been dealing with for the last 6 months, I've had to spend a lot of time going, I don't know. I don't know how to fix it. So that's just felt good. And it's been good to, to just really be back in and getting going. We talked about who's missing with Bo and Linda and Sandy. I don't have any issues or elephants. My expectation is to do amazing work like we always do. And so I'm just always thrilled to work with this group. The chore that I hate doing the most, I hate doing anything that has to do, that's not even right. I hate mowing my lawn. I hate watering my lawn. I hate doing anything that has to do with my lawn. I'm not sure why I hate it so much. I am that neighbor that sometimes gets the fix-it ticket from the city because my lawn's too long. But Joe Ferdani lives in my neighborhood and has made more than one comment about my lawn. So I like I said, don't know why. I just do. So.
All right, Laura Leppy.
Hi guys, sorry. I'm Lara Leppy. I teach middle school math at Holstrom. I'm doing okay. This is part of my time constraint. I'm in Boulder. I have to let the fix-it people in, like the handyman and the painters. So right now I'm sitting on the stairs at the front door waiting to let them in. So if my video disappears, it's because I'm walking up and down stairs, and I feel like that makes people nauseous when they watch. So I'm going to shut that off for just a little bit. But I'm here. I also got to go into school, which was awesome. It made me feel a lot less like worried about, things, and the depersonalizing everything was in boxes. So I shoved them into my old kindergarten bathrooms where the toilets got removed. So everything's like shoved into these tiny little closets and stacked up. Hopefully they stay there. And what am I doing? How many time constraints? I have no issues or elephants. And my expectations are just that we're going to do the things that we do because we're awesome, and we're going to get all the stuff done because we're also awesome. And I love seeing all of your faces because I miss you guys lots. And P.S. before I forget, thank you to all the people who had something to do with our plan, because I love you all. And then I hate everything that has to do with putting stuff away. So like putting the stuff away from your car, putting away your shopping, putting away the dishes, putting away the laundry, which I don't do. And I buy new clothes. But then I forget to put those away because they're in the bag. Then I don't want to put away the new stuff. So it sits in the bag while I wear it. And that is why my house is a disaster and looks like a closet exploded all the way across it. So that's the chore I hate as a collective everything.
Sounds good. Colleen, did I get you? Okay, you're already got, thank you. Nancy.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Nancy Leonard. I'm a retired principal from District 12. I am feeling quite good today because it's the first day in 7 days that I haven't had the dizzies. So that hasn't been fun to still deal with. I don't have any time constraints, issues, or elephants. My expectation is, as always, that this group will find positive answers to what we need to deal with. You're such a great group. And the thing that I hate to do is I hate right now dealing with Japanese beetles.
All right. Dorman.
My name is Dorman Land. I'm a language acquisition teacher at Century Middle School. I have no time constraints, no issues or elephants. I'm feeling all over the board all the time. Like yesterday when I went in my classroom and I realized my students weren't going to be there and I wasn't going to be face-to-face, that was a little hard. And then today during my PLSC time, when I was meeting with my my colleagues and we're like teaching each other tech tricks and stuff and getting really excited about what we're going to be doing. So then I'm on a high right now. So just all over the place. And then of course, all the time when I'm talking to people and see things on news about our district, I become very proud of all the work that our district has done. And that just gives me, I feel like I'm walking around with a badge. Yeah, I'm Adams12. So that's good too. What I hate, I guess I hate ironing because back in 1998, I was hired at this district with 3 years of experience, but I had 7 and they decided to retroly go up to 7. So they gave me this big pay raise by giving me 4 extra years. And I took that money and I put it, and I always use that for laundry service now. So anything that has to be ironed goes to the people that do that sort of thing. So I'm
Sounds good. All right, Kristen, you've heard everybody. Can you make it through it?
I can. Hi, everybody. I'm Kristen Powers, principal at Riverdale Elementary, and I have my little cheat sheet of what I'm supposed to talk about. So how am I? I am awesome because I've gotten to see my staff for a couple of days, and I can't wait to see students next week at our meet and greet. And I don't have any issues or elephants. I don't have any time constraints. My only expectation is for myself right now, and that's to be a positive participant to your group. And the chore that I hate the most is emptying the dishwasher and putting all the dishes away.
All right. And I think I got everybody. Did I miss anybody other than myself? All right. I'm Dave. I'm your facilitator today, and I'm your only facilitator today. So I'm demanding that you be nice to me. All right. I'm doing pretty good. I've been on the road the last 2 weeks, actually doing face-to-face new teacher events with my Eastern Colorado job, my other job. So it was good to get out of my basement and off of Zoom for a while and actually see people face-to-face, even if they all had masks on and I had trouble telling who was who at times. So I have no time constraints, no issues or elephants. My expectations are the same as always. This group does such a great job at this process. And so I'm very excited to keep you in that process as we're going through. And my chore that I hate worse than anything else, we have 5 dogs and they're little yappy dogs, and they do something in the yard that I dislike very greatly. And picking that up, it just, oh my God, it's awful. It just gags me. So that's the chore I hate the most. So, all right, I'll throw this back to Dave and Mila or whoever is in charge, and you can let us know what we're doing today.
Well, I don't think either one of us actually want to claim that, to be honest with you.
Right. Hey,
It looks like Bo's coming in right now.
Oh,
yeah,
Bo coming in?
just got here, and Bo, welcome. We just finished check-in.
Yeah, so you get to
you're
do it.
just in time.
So, Bo,
man.
it's the normal check-in. Who are you? Position in district. How are you? Time constraints, issues or elephants, expectations. And then the question for the day is, what is a chore that you just hate doing?
Hi, everybody. Bo Fobert, Executive Director of Curriculum and Instruction. I'm a little mentally fried. I won't sugarcoat that, but I'm happy to be here. No time constraints now other than arriving late. Thanks for your understanding there. No known elephants or issues. And wow, the chore that I hate, it's probably one I don't do, right? Because that's why I hate it. Really, it's got to be anything that has to do with the bathroom. You know, anything that has to do with the bathroom, it's got to be done. But man, I sure would like to not do it. So glad to be here.
Very good. Welcome, Bo. All right, Dave and Milo, what are we doing?
All right, thanks. We have a series of contract-related tweaks to discuss over the course of the next couple of meetings that, just given the times and given some need for some flexibility or adjustment, we need to do some formal conversation about them. So we'll talk a little bit about our approach and what we've thought we might do in this space. And I think I'll let Dave address that. And then we can talk a little bit about some of the ideas that we've generated that are going to need a touch by this group. Dave?
Yeah. So one of the things that has been just interesting, I think it's the very Colorado thing, is that there are 170 plus districts and 170 plus ways that all of the decisions were made and whatnot over the course of the summer and everything else. And one of the things that I know that Mila and Chris and others in leadership and I talked about was that we were very committed to following our process for decision making and processes for shared decision making and labor management, and for everything that had to do with the restart and what became the onward guides and everything else. And so we were very supportive on myself and the district DTA leadership teams for the use and development of Mila, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was like 16 and then it became 18. And then at one point, because of cohort conversations, it was like 50 subgroups of different educators, both certified and classified administrators, all coming together this summer to really noodle through and work through all the different processes. And we felt like not only was that the way our contract and our district policies were set up on how we make decisions, we thought that was the appropriate place and role for those groups to make the decisions and kind of speak to what really impacts them within the constructs of the law and the contract and everything going on. The other piece, a lot of districts, associations were requesting over the summer to negotiate the restart plan. And I felt that this particular process that I just described was our negotiated process, because that's what is in our master agreement. That's what's in our district policy. But two, also, there was this undercurrent, this tone of a lot of the conversations were not actually about whether to or how to restart or how to be remote or how to do that work. It was whether or not to be in person, whether or not to be remote, the conditions that we should decide how to make that decision. And I felt that that was not the appropriate space for the association to be negotiating through a contract or any other lens. We provided input through Chris's teams and the board's input processes, through shared, whether it was feedback groups, these onward plans, other forums and surveys and whatnot that we were granted, but that this was really a district community-based decision that needed to be made for our whole community. And this was not a certified issue. And so I didn't want to mix up the work that we have to do, the important work we have to do about figuring out how to make everything work and make it fair for everybody, with that decision to return to school or not to return to school. And so I don't know if you listened to my comments at the board meeting. I spent like 30 seconds just briefly saying, we support the decision because we know the decision was made in the appropriate way, and that now that the decision has been made and now that teams have been working on implementing it, there have been issues that arise. And when issues arise, that's where we come in as a negotiation team, as an IBS team, to work out how to best handle those issues. Mila will go through, we've identified a couple of them. And we had one that was on the list that actually, as we started thinking about it, we've kind of moved to a different list, and that we'll deal with separately, because it's really not a certified only issue. It's a classified, certified, and administrator issue. So we need to bring a team together to discuss that. It has to do with quarantining and a few other things like that. And so I know that was, I don't want to call it an elephant in this room, because I think we all trusted the process and everything else, but for whoever is viewing in our public audience and whatnot, I think it was an elephant in the greater community about why had we not engaged this process where other districts have been later on. So I just wanted to kind of start us off with that, like what we're doing and why we're doing it, because we deal with issues, and now we have issues that we need to talk about based on the decisions and implementation on the direction of the superintendent and the school board has kind of set us on. So Mila, do you want to add anything to that before talking about the couple of things we need to talk about?
No, I don't have anything to add. Chris, anybody else want to jump in?
Oh, yeah, I'll just go ahead and jump in here, and maybe it's relevant to later parts of the discussion. It's largely reiterative, but I think there's value sometimes in people hearing from you directly. A few pieces I want to emphasize. One is this piece about working together in a collaborative way and getting feedback and input from stakeholders, both our parents and staff at a variety of levels, isn't something we do just because the contract says we need to do that in some areas of our practice and our work together. At the core, I believe it's just the right way to find the best path forward to making good decisions that are going to work. And when we make too many decisions too far removed from people who are going to have to implement that work day in and day out, we make poor decisions, or we make ones that have a lot of unintended consequences that get us off track. And Dave was talking today, we had a chat, and he made an analogy to D-Day and General Eisenhower, and in the end, the most influential person in making all of the best laid plans work or not work on a battlefield was a first private or someone at the lowest level of the ranks in the Army. That's just so true. We've got to be listening to our support staff, to all of our educators, administrators, our students and parents on as many issues as we can, so that what sound like good ideas as people are wrestling around with them in the beginning conversation at the ESC, that it actually works the way that it was intended and hoped for on the ground. So we do it not because we're contractually required, but because it's the best way to find the best solutions that are going to work in an enduring way. A second piece is, gosh, it's been quite the roller coaster. Dorman's talking about being on the roller coaster now, and I feel like I've been on it since early March. And it's, there's lots of things that you hear at points in time that it takes you a longer period of time to really come to grips with. The governor told us in one of those first meetings with superintendents in the Denver area, March 10th or 11th, that we'd be dealing with the virus issues in this next school year. And I heard that, and there's a part of me that thought, yeah, maybe so, I guess so. But certainly at the scale and magnitude that we continue to grapple with it, I don't think any of us had a clue that realistically the virus would influence all of our decisions and the way we go about schooling so deeply this long. And for the foreseeable future, the virus is going to be a mighty issue for us to work with. And for all of us to be riding that roller coaster, I think is very much to be expected. And just during the course of the summer, I want you to know that there were times that I think we all had a high level of hope and confidence that being in person with students every day of the week was going to be a feasible path forward and the best way for us to serve them. And then fairly quickly, as things started to ramp up in July, we started to see that path forward, even though we wanted it to be true, had a whole lot of serious challenges in terms of safety and productivity and consistency for our kids. And so I just want to thank everyone for riding the roller coaster together. I wish I could say that we're about ready to stop the ride and get off and just walk steady, straightforward, but we're not going to be. A third piece just want to highlight is I appreciate what Dave said about decision-making, process approach, and time frame. I just feel like in the end, we've seen some of the narrative in our country, in our state, and even locally, as my recommendation was shared with the Board of Education a couple weeks ago about this remote start with a twist approach. And there were some who wanted to paint the narrative in terms of educators versus parents or staff versus parents. And I think that kind of narrative would have been even more amplified if we would have been in a space of having this group decide how and when we come back to school and whether it's remote or not. In the end, I feel like one of the core parts of my job is to be the person that shoulders that divisiveness and tries to keep us focused on what it really is all about, which is our students, and not to let groups on our staff side become divided against one another, and to fight back hard against the narrative that there's some conflict between what our staff want to do in serving kids and what parents want to do. There's a lot of complexity to those decisions. For those of you who heard me at that board meeting a couple weeks ago, I concluded with the same statements that I'll conclude with today, that I know that a lot of what people are wrestling with in terms of safety concerns and how to serve students are based not at all on things like association membership. We see these same concerns about how to safely return and the best path forward that are at similar levels, whether you're a charter school employee and not a member of any association, or whether you are a member of the association. It all comes down to personal risk assessment. And I've never doubted that people who come about that analysis and reach different conclusions are always doing it based upon their assessments of their own personal risk and how best to serve students, and that it's not driven by politics. It's just driven by very real emotions, feelings, and assessments that we all do differently as human beings. I still feel very good about the recommendation I set forth to the board and its decision to approve that plan, not based upon anything else other than really a tough decision about how best to serve our students in these circumstances. And so I feel good about the decision. I appreciate all the feedback that people gave and all the work they did on things like the onward guides, so that when we have in-person touches with students, we're going to do it in the very safest and thoughtful way that we can. And yet I know there's still work to be done in terms of figuring out how these broad plans work or don't work, or what needs to be tweaked or adjusted to make it work well for our staff and serving kids. And so I look forward to continuing the journey with you here today and next week, and working through whatever things we need to so that it works the way that was intended to. So thanks all. It's great pleasure to be with you in this group as always.
Thanks, Chris. So let me just touch on a few of the topics that Dave and I have generally discussed, and then we're going to start with the leave of absence conversation. Hopefully we will get to some workload, just familiarization with some information from Bo, perhaps, about just some ideas around workload. Some other topics that we hope to get to in the next meeting will include, but not be limited to, classroom coverage MOU that was signed late in the spring last year, athletics and co-curricular activities pay, in-person requirements in a remote setting. This is a little bit of the work and the workload that we may hear from with Bo. There's some changes to the evaluation process at the state level. We'll briefly touch on those to see what impacts they may or may not have for our master agreement. Temp leave and how it interplays with the FFCRA, the Families First Coronavirus Response Act, and then some decisions that aren't immediate but do need to be made, having to do with once we stand up a 5-star online school and teachers wish to transfer into that, some tweaking to our transfer process or are returned from that assignment process. So these are some of the topics that we've visited about and recognize might have some touch to our master agreement. Dave, is there anything you're thinking I didn't mention there or forgot?
No, just the brief thing that I mentioned that we'll probably be asking some of you guys to work with us on with our classified colleagues to discuss the rules and implications of quarantining, both quarantining because the school is on quarantine or you've been placed on quarantine because of your workplace, but also quarantine because you've been exposed in an out of school session. So that's because that doesn't live in the master agreement and whatnot. We'll be doing having a conversation about that with folks, and we want to make it really similar to in all employee groups. And so bringing the two groups together is really more of a discussion to discuss all the implications and the what ifs, so that we can produce a really good document for staff to be really clear about what happens to them if this happens, then that happens. Right now we have general documents out there, but I think this group and our classified colleagues have a really good sense of all the different nuts and bolts and ways this is all going to work out. And we'll be able to produce some really good supports for staff, some clarity in that sense together.
Yeah. So I would invite you for any IBS meeting to go to our shared drive, and Kristen, I'm going to add you to that. And if you're not already in their team, feel free to go there now if you're able to do that. And you'll note that I have dragged all of our documents from last season's work into a big folder called IBS 2019-20. And so we're a new year, a fresh new folder. So you'll see tonight's agenda, which is super vague and high level, but it's there, and a draft of some language. And so
Mila, can I interrupt you just a second?
Bet.
I was not able to get to the shared drive for some reason today, so I may need another invitation into it or another link or whatever to it. So
I'll work on that right now, Dave.
Thank you very much,
talking.
Dave.
Okay.
I appreciate that. Thanks, Dave.
Thanks.
And Nancy too, Dave. Go ahead.
Okay.
I will. Yep. I'll work on that while Mila's walking us through.
Great. All right. So not wanting to be too presumptuous, but wanting to start us in a space. And we've talked a little bit about this. We're not going to follow the full IBS model in these conversations. We're not going to start with story and identify interests and then build a straw model. I'm starting with a straw model for us to look at that's drafted from a different leave of absence piece of language, and want to have a really robust conversation. If we need to do more work or more tweaking or what have you, we'll do that. But just want to engage in a conversation about this leave of absence policy. And so if you look at the draft, let me tell you a little bit about the rationale for needing to have this conversation. In our master agreement, we have a number of different leaves of absence defined. You see things having to do with military leave, parental leave, temp leave, and those are all very clearly defined. How you can apply for that leave, what qualifies you for that leave. We have leave for other employment, but we don't have any brand of leave related to a personal reason or just a general leave of absence. And right now we do have a lot of interest in people not having any reason other than a deep discomfort with returning to work in the current pandemic environment, and perhaps desiring the ability to take an unpaid leave of absence and maintain their employment relationship with the district. And so, we need to consider that. We need to consider whether we want to enact such a leave and what the pros and the cons of that might be. With an approved leave of absence, what you do is you assure someone that they are still connected to you in an employment relationship. You assure them typically that they can return to the position they had before they left. And that's wonderful assurance for the employee. It's a bit of a burden for the organization. Many of you have been in buildings where someone needed to take a leave for any reason. They have an approved leave, and you're unable to hire a permanent replacement. You end up hiring a long-term sub or a temporary hire, and a lot of high-quality candidates aren't really interested in temporary jobs, and so sometimes you struggle to fill the vacancy and you're respecting and holding the job for a person, but the organization is left, you know, with a bit of a disadvantage, potentially, not always, but so that's something to be aware of as we consider granting, enacting a different kind of leave. I think the other things that we have to think about are what happens during the leave. Right now, if you go on an unpaid leave of absence, you receive no salary. You also receive no benefits. So if you wish to continue your health, your dental, your vision benefits, you pay for those through a COBRA program. And COBRA, you pay 100% of the cost plus a 2% handling fee from the COBRA company. And that's just how it is in all of our other unpaid leaves. You typically do not accrue any additional temp leave during an unpaid leave period. And we typically don't allow people to use temp leave, paid temp leave, before going out on some kind of an extended leave of absence. So those are some of the things that are story about leaves of absence. And I would invite Dave or anybody else to add some story to what we know about leaves of absence. And then I think we just want to consider this language that's in this document and noodle through some of the choices we have to make, such as how long a term do you allow somebody to take a leave for? Dave, you want to add anything?
Yeah, I mean, I can add a couple of things. Unpaid and especially in this coronavirus thing, and unpaid leave of absence is kind of I don't want to say it's the hip new thing, but it kind of is. A lot of organizations are offering these as part of kind of just a response to dealing with all the different childcare issues and healthcare issues and all the things that are just hitting people with an eye to, things are crazy today, but we don't want to lose valued employees that we've invested money in for the following year when we can return to a normal setting. This is a bit of story. We do have that leave for other employment, for which, people who know the secret code, if you will, like there's not a verification process, right? Like you don't have to have a job offer in hand from another job in order to get it and that kind of stuff. You just got to tell us that you're going to do it. And, it shouldn't, in this particular environment, it shouldn't be about how long you've been in the district, 7+ years plus looking for another. It shouldn't be about that. It should be about what these leaves in other places are about, or this idea that folks need to do what's right for their family, and we need to do what's right for our organization long term, and not losing employees long term, I think is part of what that right space is. The other thing I would just ask, before we jump into looking at the document, I'd love to hear just impressions other people have before jumping into that space, just so we can get some more voices. I know it's been me and you and Chris talking a bunch. Just would like to hear from some other folks before we go down that path.
And folks, if you would put your hand up in your, go to your participants page and raise your hand there, it puts it in order for me, so it helps me keep track of them a lot better. So if you've got something you want to add, please do that. Mila's the only one that can't do that because she's a co-host, so she just has to wave at me. So
me too. I'll be doing lots of waving.
Yep. All right. Colleen.
I'm just wondering what happens when we get to September 11th and there's some kind of possible communication that we're going to be going back in October, and then people realize that we're going to go back and they want to take a leave. What happens to those people? Because I saw that the deadline was August 17th.
That's a great question, Colleen. And thanks for reminding me of one other thing I wanted to discuss is that deadline and why that deadline. So we're in a situation where teachers on the newly aligned contract will get their first paycheck of the new year at the end of August. And if a teacher says, I want to take an unpaid leave of absence, they should not get that first paycheck of the year. And we would be chasing after them to, hey, repay us that first paycheck, which is never the way you want to do business, intentionally, certainly. And so the payroll cutoff, in order for us to pull somebody out of the payroll queue and let our payroll department do what it needs to do, we really need to know by along about August 17th. And so that's the reason for the deadline. Now, it's clear, Colleen, that at some point we're going to make a pivot to some different kind of learning, whether it's in September, maybe it's in December for second semester. When that happens, I think we're going to have to allow people to take the change in circumstance and then apply. I will tell you that right now we're in the middle of handling, it just bumped to 248 medical accommodation conversations right now. It was at 180 a couple days ago. It was at 218 this morning. We had 25 more overnight. I just looked at my chart. I have 248 medical conversations going on, and we're not going to be able to process those in rapid succession. That takes time to have a conversation with an employee about your health issues and what your doctor said and what we need as an organization, and in order to have that process. So I say that because there will be people who won't know their medical accommodation status until after the August 17th paycheck. If you're in the HR process with us in the accommodation space and you decide you want a medical leave, we'll make it happen. We will make it happen for you. And similarly, if once we pivot to some other plan, we'll have to re-extend a new window for applying for unpaid leave. But for right now, to avoid those who aren't even going to start the year getting a paycheck that then they have to repay, we set that deadline. I hope that makes sense. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, it doesn't, because what then do we do with that position if they decide then to do it? So it's complicated, right? It's complicated. So.
Oh, it is. It's kind of like a maternity leave, when somebody goes out in October, they've started the year with us, they've gotten a couple of paychecks, but now they're going to be gone, and we have to find a long-term sub later. And that happens a lot. But I don't want to start the year with people who know that they're going to be taking this leave, already trying to figure out how to recoup money that shouldn't have been paid.
Yeah.
I don't see any other hands up, Dave. I would love to, if before we, like I said, before going into the document, is there anyone who thinks we are or not kind of on the right path? Like, we can noodle through details about like what happens second semester, what happens, like that's part of the document looking at it. I want to make sure that everyone feels good about us moving down this path before going into the document, because I don't want to get halfway through that work and then somebody say like, whoa, why are we going down this way? I got a problem with it. So I don't know if it's comments or temperature checks or whatever we need to do. I just want to feel good that everyone here agrees that we're moving on the right path before going down the path.
Okay. Does anybody have any comments for Dave around that? If you've had a chance to look it over? And if you haven't had a chance, we can give you a little bit of time to look it over first. Kathy.
So I just had a question. So we think that, if they're the 248 medical accommodations, we're thinking that there'll be a number of folks that just want to take a leave besides that. And I think it's a good idea to offer. I don't want to lose any staff for sure. I just am not sure if we have as many as 248, is there an upper limit that we can handle and still be able to provide enough instructors for school this year. So I just, I don't know if there's any criteria that we would use. And I don't know of anybody doing this, but it's an interesting environment out there with some of these smaller pod activities that are privately funded. I would not want to see a teacher take a leave from any district and then teach in a pod and then come back. So I would have a problem if that was what someone was going to do with their leave, but I don't know if there's any remedy for that. And like I said, I don't know of anybody doing it. I know there's parents all over the place who are doing some private pay things for some retired educators. But I just was wondering about if there's those types of considerations.
Marty, I have your hand up next.
Can I answer one of, I think
sure, go
there's
ahead.
a part of a question in there for Kathy.
Go ahead.
Those that are asking for accommodations and we can't meet it, and there's the whole medical end of the medical leave space, that's separate and apart from what a large chunk of what we're talking about here. This is not medical leave. This is more related to, I just can't make this work. Maybe I don't have any risk factors. Maybe my family's not at risk factors as defined by the CDC, which is kind of in that medical leave and medical accommodation space Mila was talking about. This is something else. Maybe it's childcare. Maybe it's just personal choice on risk, willingness to engage in risk for this particular coronavirus environment. Medical leave and the FRCRS and all that stuff. That's a whole different side of the coin, as it were. Although they could be engaged in some of that, they could also take a year leave as part of all that stuff. But if they decide the accommodations we can't provide enough accommodations for them, that's definitely an option for them as part of that process. Mila, would you agree with that, or did I misspeak?
Yeah, no, I think that's true. And I, Kathy, I agree with the point you make about, the other employment, although we do have a sanctioned leave for other employment. So somebody could say, I'm going to go be a pod teacher. And as much as that rubs the wrong way, actually that currently exists in our certified agreement.
Okay, I have Marty and Sandy. And Sandy, before you ask your question or make your comment, I'm going to have you check in. So go ahead, Marty.
Thinking about what Kathy said, whether we can afford to lose them or not, I think that I would expect the people that are willing to take a year unpaid are probably willing to just quit if they can't. I think it gives them an in coming back. I don't think it is going to limit people leaving. That's my gut feeling anyway. If I'm a math teacher, I'm going to feel pretty confident I can get a math job whenever school comes back in person. So, I think it makes it more likely that they would come back to us if we offer that leave.
Okay, Sandy, would you check in? The check-in is who are you, position in district, how are you, time constraints, issues, elephants, expectations, and then what's a chore that you just hate to do?
Sandy Sorensen, Northland High School, science teacher. And I'm doing fine. I guess I'm going to cover, I don't have any issues or elephants. Now I don't have any time constraints. I came in late because I guess I was doing one of my least favorite chores, which was having my teeth cleaned. Yay. So did I cover them all?
Yeah, you got it. You got it. Go ahead. And then you can ask your question or make your comment. Go ahead.
So yeah, I got in here at about 4:30. So I don't know how much exactly that I missed. But just going straight into, like when Mila said, going straight into options, I guess, or straw design or whatever terminology we want to put on it. I was a little taken aback by that. And again, it could be because I missed something at the front end here. And also, I'm concerned about that deadline of the 17th, especially given that these are extremely exceptional circumstances, I guess you could say. And then that compiled on with Mila, you said how many people you have to talk to in this short amount of time. I'm just worried about that deadline. And I understand, well, yeah, those people would need to pay something back, but I guess not going through the process, I'm just going to say maybe we could add an option in there of somehow extending the timeline.
So Mila, did you want to address what Sandy said, or because I do have Deborah on the list too?
Go ahead to Deborah.
Okay, Deborah.
Yeah, I guess I am feeling like I have no problem with this. I like that we're giving teachers a choice to put their health or their family's health first. My concern, though, is what happens if an awful lot of teachers get this, take this option, and we don't have substitutes to begin with. What does that mean for principals and teachers and class coverage? So that's a concern and a question for me. I think we're on the right path, but that does worry me. Who's going to take on that load and how?
Okay. I don't have anybody else on my speaking list right now, so.
Deborah, that worries me too. It's.
I bet it does.
Yeah, it's really difficult. And I will say that the 248 on my list right now are from all walks of employment, some drivers, some paras, some teachers. So it's not all out of one group. But yeah, I don't know how many people can afford to take a year of unpaid status. We have had some processing through as leaves for unemployment over the summer. People are clear about the decision they want to make, and they've thought about it hard. And if they're in a position to be able to do that, they're going to do it, and have already. And to Dave's point, some of them know about leave for other employment and have just claimed that. But it shouldn't be that you have to pretend something. We should have a leave that fits the need, I believe. I don't think it's a leave that we want to perpetuate past this crisis. So my recommendation is, this year only. And I think it has to be for a semester at a time so that we can hire a long-term sub or a person on a limited contract and find a replacement when we have to have a replacement. And so that's some of the reason for indicating that it has to be at least a semester long. And it can be up to both semesters in a single year, because depending on what happens in the second half of the year. So that's the reason for some of the language choices in there right now.
Okay, on the list I have Dorman, Allison, and Colleen. Dorman.
So the initial question was, do we feel okay going down this path? I feel okay going down this path. I feel that basically what this leave would do is give us first dibs. Basically what Marty said, that if you're gonna not have any pay, no benefits, nothing whatsoever, nothing in parent, no advancement on the salary scale, you're quitting for 1 year. It just gives us first dibs to a lot of teachers that are high quality. So I do feel the concerns about if a lot of people want to quit. But that would happen if they wanted to quit too, So I think it's the right way, but it's a little leery that we just really scared about that.
Allison.
So I'm sorry, I kind of got kicked out. So I might be asking some questions that were answered, and I'm sorry. But is this something that came up before the board made its decision, or is this new, that all these people are wanting to take a leave of absence?
No, this has been, this kind of talk has been present since last spring. Lots of organizations in the HR industry. There's a lot of talk outside of K-12 in other industries too about allowing people to completely self-isolate, and if remote work doesn't work, you know, can people take leaves of absence for childcare reasons, these sorts of things. So it's been out there for a while.
Okay. I just thought I heard a mention.
No, sorry, Allison. I just also want to say, like, we've had questions. Mila and I have been fielding questions about the potential internal for our own teachers and other educators since March, right? Like, there were people in March and April and May and June and July and now in August asking us, is this a possibility? How can I make this work? And I don't know how many of them, to I think Dorman's point, have the finances to pull the trigger and actually execute the leave. But knowing that it wasn't an option has created more turmoil than I think the option itself being available will create, just because people feel like they don't have a choice. Does that make sense? People always feel better when they have a choice.
Yeah, I guess so. I think it's a good idea. I'm for it. I'm just wondering if people's mentality around this and how many people are genuinely interested, if that's changed now that we are starting remotely. And I think there was a lot of talk about that from people when they were just freaked out and they're like, I'm going to be put in an unsafe situation for my health or my family's health. So I'm just wondering if maybe the pool is not as big as we think it is. I did have a couple people like reach out to me too when you sent that email, Mila, and they were just a little freaked out that then they wouldn't be able to take a leave for any reason. And I explained that that's not quite what this is. So I think we'll just have to make sure we're really careful with how we explain it to people, because a couple of them read it as, now I can't. What if my kid gets sick, or what if my daycare provider gets sick, or like what if my mom gets sick? And I was like, no, those are all totally different. So it did freak some people out, but I think it's a good idea.
I have Colleen and then Marty.
I just wanted to put out there that to take that leave for other employment, you have to have been with the district 6 years. So people from 1 to 6 can't take that leave. So this might be an option for most people.
Okay, Marty? Marty, you're muted, sir.
Drinks on me. I think the other thing that I was just starting to think about, does this provision, I mean, it reads to me like they are guaranteed a position the following year, even if that position they had doesn't exist anymore. Does that, if we're reducing budget and reducing positions next year, like, are those people owed that position and we have to bump them and go through, you know, a reduction in force process? So that worries me a little bit. And I think we need to clarify that before we move forward with it.
Marty, to respond to that, HR, when somebody's out on an approved leave and you have a vacancy in your building because they're out on an approved leave. So if they took a leave, if this were approved, we wouldn't let you post the position as a permanent hire. All of you principals know that you get restricted and you can only hire either a long-term sub or a temporary assignment. That's our way of making sure that the position is held for the person on leave. And so then when we get to the next budget season, and let's just say that your enrollment declines and now you need, this was a 6th grade teacher and you don't need as many 6th grade teachers, we would go through the standard Appendix E process. Well, we check in with this person toward the end of their leave and we say, do you intend to come back? And sometimes they don't. But if they're saying, no, I'm coming back and I want that spot you're saving for me, then we go through an Appendix E process. They're a veteran employee who has, you know, been in the position, we've been saving the position for them. And so we would go through the usual process with them in the mix to eliminate 6th grade positions for this example.
So the only exception to that, oh, sorry, Marty.
Sorry, I get that, but what I'm kind of reading in the wording there is that if the original position's not there, then they're owed a position somewhere in the district. And so that complicates things a little bit more. And I guess I might be looking to change that, you know, because if they're going to bump somebody, you know, in a completely different school, in a completely different environment, that's going to be tough on morale in a lot of places.
Well, in a mutual consent system, we don't want to place people anywhere else except at the school where they were hired. And so that's why we don't allow you to fill permanently a position vacated by someone on leave. So that we can maintain this promise that this person will return to their original school. And if their position has been eliminated due to enrollment, then we have to go through a process. But I take your point, and we could look at that language if people want to.
And just, you know, with that displacement process on that return to leave, the way I read it and just the way our practice has been, there's kind of 2 spaces, you know, if they go through the Appendix E and they're probationary, then they get non-renewed for the following year. And that's unfortunate, but that's the normal process. If they're non-probationary, we owed them a contract in the district somewhere, whether they were on leave or not, if they're the selected party under the Appendix E reduction process. And so their leave status doesn't impact what happens to them after for the next school year if it's in regards to their position, because positions are different than people in that space. The other thing I was just going to clarify one small piece is that the only leave that is not the case for, where we would be involved in an Appendix C situation, is the military leave gets really super complicated if somebody's out on military deployments and a reduction happens at a building. That gets super complicated, and basically we just exclude. The practice for the few times that it's happened has been we just exclude them from the process, and the other people are in the Appendix E pool, if you will, just because of their federally protected status.
Okay, Mila, Dave, I don't have any other questions at this time. Where do you want to go next? What's the procedure you want to use?
I'd like to just formally have a temperature check with people to make sure that we're going in the right direction. Because this wasn't a posted meeting, we're not adopting or TAing anything at the moment. We're just making sure that we're moving in the right direction.
Okay.
And I think, Dave,
go ahead.
What I'd like to, in terms of I do think we are going to tentatively agree to this so that we can invite people to apply, knowing that these are the tentatively agreed upon parameters, and that they will be formally adopted at our meeting next week. It's just a little bit of a workaround, I think, around being sure that everybody who wanted to be a part of watching this meeting publicly has a chance to have sufficient notice to do that. But we do need to start gathering names and advertising the terms of this. And so if we can reach a sort of a tentative agreement with this group, that would be desirable.
Okay, so everybody knows in this process, with the exception of maybe Kristen, because she's new, that in order to get a tentative agreement, you have to have consensus on that. So that's a thumb vote. Kristen, I'll show you this real quick if you can see my thumb. This is yes, I'm good to go with it. This is I have some issues with it, but I'm not going to derail it. That's a sideways thumb. A down thumb is no, I can't do it. And if you have a down thumb, you have to come up with a better solution. So that's a really simplified version, Kristen. I'm sorry to give you the quick blast, but that's the way it is. So I think what you're asking for is, Dave, is a consensus on moving forward with this. Is that correct? All right, let me see your thumbs. Oh,
Chris Gudowski.
Chris, go ahead.
I just need some time to look at this. So I've been listening to you all talk, with your feedback, and I've just not had a chance to look at the doc. I feel like this is a big enough stakes issue, and people have raised some issues more in the detailed place that it would serve us well to have some minutes just to eyeball it and make sure that we've answered all the questions that we need to.
Sounds good, Chris.
Just as a clarification, we're not necessarily agreeing that this document as is what we're going with. Just we want to go into the document and spend the time noodling through it because we all agree this is the right. We need to figure out a leave space. Like we want to move to this. We would before we move forward, we'd agree to all the parameters, and you'd be able to give your like, no, I'm not good with this. I can't make this work. I just want to make sure, because we're kind of in a weird space, to make sure everyone's voice is in the room, because we haven't heard from everybody, that yes, we should talk. We should now look at this document and go item by item and noodle through it if that's what it takes.
Sandy, you had a question? Sandy?
So wait, so we're doing a thumbs for, are we going to keep talking about this? Is that pretty much what we're doing right now?
Think of it as a temperature check to make sure that we're moving in the right direction.
Okay.
That was the way I phrased it.
Okay.
So
then we can.
And then I jumped in with TA. So
okay,
sorry.
Yeah. That's all right. We'll adjust. You guys adjust well with this. Chris, with what Dave just said, does that help you? Okay. All right. So what I should ask the question is, let me see your thumbs on moving forward and going through this piece by piece. All right. You have consensus on that. Thank you. All right, so Dave, or Mila, where are you going?
Well, the first paragraph.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Go ahead, Dave. You go.
Yeah,
and Dave, I still can't see it, so I'm going to be floating in the dark a little bit here. So.
I'm going to, instead of sending you the document itself or the drive, I'm sharing with you right now just the documents. You'll receive that in an email form in just a few seconds.
Okay. Thanks, Dave.
I think with, we've had conversations about the deadline. People not sure if they feel like that's the right deadline. I don't know how else to phrase that, to put in. Nancy, if you don't have access, I'm also sending you it as well, just so you know. It should be coming in your box any second. I wonder if that first part is really the first two things that we need to really talk about is, are they applying for a leave for the whole year, or is it a semester at a time? I think I have some interest in it being a semester at a time. And do we want to have, what do we want the deadlines to be? I know for Mila talked about the August 17th for this pay situation. Other people brought up some really good points about, if they're going to take the leave without pay, pulling it out might not be a big deal. So I think we need to decide, make those kind of two decisions, because those kind of two decisions impact what we make the criteria and what the rest of it looks like. Mila, was that kind of what you were thinking or saying?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I'd like to tackle the semester piece first. Do we do it does it have to be, you're doing it for a year and too bad, so sad? Or do we want to do it a semester at a time, basically?
Kathy Plummer.
So I'm just wondering, in terms of how staff will make this decision, what they need to know. So this partly has to do with the date, and it partly has to do with kind of reasons why people might need to do this. And, and someone already mentioned this, if we come back September 10th and all of a sudden, we say we're remote for the rest of the semester, and maybe someone hates remote teaching. They were, hoping to come back in person, and now they're like, you know what, I want to do a semester leave because I really want to be back in my classroom. Or the opposite, when if the district comes back and says, we're going to be hybrid, and they don't have that, medical leave that they're talking with Mila about, but they do have extreme fears about coming back, that kind of thing, beliefs about being kept safe. it feels like some people might make some situational decisions based on the recommendation for the rest of the semester. And is that part of this, or is that just, I don't know how that figures in.
Dave or Mila, do you want to address that?
I don't know how to address it, to be honest with you. You know, that's the whole kit and caboodle of what we're kind of noodle through. Like, should this be something with multiple opportunities, or do people just need to make a decision with what they've got now? That's one of the decisions we have to decide. If we're saying you just got to make the decision now, a lot of things are going to change over this semester. We're going to be in, we're going to be out. Second semester, first semester, it's going to be all over the place. We need you to pick a path. We're giving you this opportunity to pick a path. Or do we say, you know, here are the 3 times that you can opt into this? I made up that number, not because I think 3 is the right number. I just use that as a example, right? We say August 17th, October 1st, or January 1st. I'm like I said, making things up. We have to make that decision as a body.
Part of that is the impact it has on the school. You know, so if we say, typically we say to people, if you're going to take a leave, you need to do it right at the beginning of a term, because that's, you know, barring a medical thing like a pregnancy, which you can't make that demand about, but this is a choice. And so letting people opt into it at any point creates an added level of chaos for our staffing system. And so I am completely respectful of the idea that if you're in process with a medical accommodation and it doesn't go the way you are counting on it to go, if your doctor says you're going to be fine with added protective gear, and the person just is like, I don't think so, you know, they may opt. And I think we could make exceptions for those folks who are in a process with us. But otherwise, I think principals need to know what to plan on. And so I advocate for some limitation. I definitely think there needs to be a choice at the time when we pivot our instructional model to something different, but there need to be some limited options here.
I've got Marty. Sorry. Go ahead, Dave.
I think that the piece that I think we're disconnecting with, I think with what Kathy was saying and what you just said, Mila, is we're making that pivot choice on the 11th, not the 17th. Yeah. And so I think that's the piece that I think I heard Colleen say, and now Kathy say as well, that the 17th is definitely for a beginning of the semester dealing with, but it's not at a pivot point in the year.
Okay, I've got Marty and then Colleen.
I think I feel like there's a reason why we would pick multiple times, but I also think that the value to the system decreases the more times you have to opt into this. You know, when we offer something like this, it's so we have some predictability about how we're going to staff and what our needs are going to be. And also, the longer the period of time that are out, you know, if I'm trying to find a long-term sub in September, I have new graduates from the summer. If I'm trying to find one in December and January, the same thing. But if I'm trying to find somebody in October or April, it becomes much more difficult. And also, you know, if I'm only bringing somebody in for a month or 8 weeks, that's a lot more difficult too, because you have to train them, you have to invest in them. And so I think that the benefit that we would get back to the system diminishes the less time you're out. So I'm advocating for a set period of time, whether it's a semester or a year. And then also, I would say there should be some natural breaks. And I understand the want to be accommodating when conditions change, but also, you know, we can't accommodate for everything. And I don't know, that's my feeling.
Colleen and then Sandy.
So I joke a lot that I'm going to retire in March on the year I can retire. And I get a lot of people going, oh, you can't do that to kids. And that's how I feel about this situation. Like once we're in September, oh, you're going to do that to kids. Like they bonded with you, however they bonded with you, even if it's online. Like, I don't know. I think it needs to be a set time and that people need to make up their mind, because we can't abandon the children that we've already taken into our classroom, even if it's online in this remote situation. They need us to be stable. And so I think, sorry, teachers, we need to make up our minds. And it needs to be sooner rather than later, so kids get the best education from us, remote or whether we're back in school in person. So,
Sandy.
I'm just thinking that I'm thinking we need to do a list of options, and straw design is, I don't know how we're going to come to a decision like this. I don't know where this is going. Are we just going to keep like, this is what I think, this is what I think. I don't know how this is going to go.
Okay. Dave, Mila, what do you think? And Dave, I still have not received the document yet, so.
I'm blaming CAA server. It's their fault.
That's what I'm thinking too. That's what
I'm going to send it to you slightly differently, so hopefully you'll get it soon. Sorry, bud.
All right, thanks. Go ahead, Mila.
Sandy, I think that was our intention, was to present a straw design that was a place to start and that would expedite this conversation. And so the straw design was worked on largely by Dave and I, not the whole team, but I'm feeling some urgency. I'm feeling some stress to communicate with people. That's not to make a fast decision. That's the wrong decision. But yeah, I don't know if going away and brainstorming solutions and then coming back would present us with something radically different or not. I'm open to the will of the group, but I felt like this was a place that we could pick and work on this document.
I have Allison and then Dorman.
Okay, I don't know where we landed on that. I just, from everyone I talked to and saw, in the world of Facebook, which has like become the most terrible place in the world right now. It's a lot of been fear motivation of people making that choice. And I think I'm sensing that things have calmed. And so I personally think that now people, from what they've said to me, are trusting that the district, that you all on the board and, Chris are going to make the right decision for people's safety, students and staff. So I personally am feeling like if we gave it, like right now, next week, whatever that is, and then they had that same opportunity to say, so in December, like I can't come back in January. I'm just, I don't think it's going to be this mass influx of people. But I'm with Colleen. I don't like the idea of the September timeline. Like, right now that it is a possibility that we're going to come back in person at the end of September. Everybody knows that. So use that and gauge yourself, talk it over with your family or yourself if you're solo, like figure out what you want and make that decision now so that we can have time to plan, because you have students and you have colleagues and you have a principal and everybody is in scramble mode right now. And I don't think it's fair for people. Like, we know what the plan is. We just haven't made that last decision, but they still know what's coming at them.
Dorman.
I'm wondering if we shouldn't go we all think this is the right direction. Maybe, perhaps we did a kind of a temperature check. I'm wondering if we just go through point by point, temperature checking it down the row so that we can talk about specific issues like the deadline. And then it looks like the opening paragraph 1 and 5 are the only things that which is the meat of it, are the things that we need to discuss. But I'm just wondering if we should just go point by point for a temperature check or something. I don't know if that's my place to say, but that's kind of how I feel.
Yeah, and we can do that. The only problem I have with it is I don't have the document, Norman. So Dave or Mila.
Double
would
check
have
your
to do
email.
that.
I sent you a specific email with a link this time.
Yeah.
And you should be able to click on that link and send it, because I did it not through the Google software that they have, but
Yeah.
just through the regular email.
While Dave looks, Allison, do you still have your hand up? Oh, that's from last time? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Dave,
Darman, I think process-wise that could be very
Yeah.
helpful.
And I don't have it, Dave, so you or Mila could do that. I have only one new email and nothing from you. So sorry about that.
I'm saying I'm blaming the server again.
I'm going to say that same thing, Dave. It wouldn't surprise me. It happens a lot. So you or Mila could go point by point if you wanted to and do the temperature check, and then I'll just watch for the thumbs. So.
Yep. So I to take that point, right? Do we want? So I guess I don't want to like necessarily ram something through. So if people are down, not feeling comfortable with the speed or the decision, I'm all good with that. I guess. The draft as is states that that we're offering this in the fall semester, and they can grant up to 2 semesters. So the way it's written as is now, we're saying we're offering it right now on by August 17th, and you can choose to take 1 semester or 2 semesters. That's an employee choice of the matter. I guess, maybe give people a moment to think, and then, we're going to do a temperature check then, I guess, of is the deadline to make this choice August 17th, and we're making it August 17th, and we're not adding another option date. That's what we have in there.
I could support adding like a December 17th date, like may apply by August 17th or December 17th for 1 semester's leave. Would that help kind of clarify the 2 times a year when you can apply? It's in the pay period before the next semester commences.
And because we're doing this in a discussion format, if you have a question or a comment about what Mila just said, please raise your hand. Sorry, Dave, go ahead.
Besides the fact that, no, I was just telling you, I was saying out loud, I just put it in.
Yeah, it's in red. That's great.
It's in red, yep.
Could it be an and or like if they took first semester,
would actually
could
be
decide
and.
to come back.
Yeah, I was thinking actually and, because it's up to 2 semesters. So those are the 2 deadlines, August 17th and December 17th, 2020 for the general provision leave. And the next bullet talks about how many semesters we're granting. So we can deal with the adding anything for that semesters granted in the next one. But this gives us the ability to offer, basically you got as written here now, for this school year, we're saying August 17th, make a decision, December 17th, make a decision for the semester, right? But August 17th is a semester 1 decision. December 17th is a semester 2 decision, and staff need to make that declaration of decision making. Mila, does the and instead of and or make sense to you, or would you prefer the and or? So that people have the option of just choosing a year long.
I think the and is good. I suppose I think the and is good. Things are going to change. People would need to recommit at semester.
Okay, I have a bunch of people. Yeah, I have a bunch of people on the list. I've got Matt, Shelly, and Allison. Matt?
Just a thought, and I know we're just in the life of scrambling, so I understand the deadline for the August, but the reality is if someone waits until December 17th to say, hey, I'm going to take second semester off, that puts, as a hiring person, I'm behind the 8 ball there. You know, that's the day we leave for Christmas break. So I don't know. I would advocate for it to be earlier. I guess I'm, you know, I'm a super employee friendly person, but right now I'm a little frustrated. Like, people have to make some decisions, because they're putting, frankly, that not only they're putting me in a bind, they're putting their colleagues in a bind if they wait that long. I mean, it's just tough. So if we're going to have a second point, and I'm not completely against having a second entry point, I think it should have to be earlier. People need to make some decisions because they are going to impact the entire system.
Would a December 1st date make more sense, or do you think it should be November?
I would personally like November if I have to. I mean, I just know from in my building, I'm going to have, like, some of these people that may be considering it are not easy people to find, you know, their categories. It's not like an English teacher, or, you know, it's more like those specialty positions. And if I'm trying to find someone that's even qualified to long-term sub, I need time to figure it out. So I would love an end of November or close to the end of November. I mean, December 1st is better than December 17th.
Yeah.
Sorry. Go ahead, Dave.
Sorry. So if I look at the November calendar, we have Thanksgiving. The week is basically the last week of November. We technically have one day of November that's not whatever. You know, we could say, you know, November 17th to keep the 17th theme, which is the week before Thanksgiving. And that still gives us over a month of hiring time to post and to, you know, may or may not be, you know, the market's not going to be much different in October than November or December, but at least it gives you a full month of openings and postings and whatnot. Because that does give, like I said, it gives you a full posting cycles that are required for a job. So you can do a cycle 1. Need to reopen cycle 2. Yeah. Yep. I'm seeing head nod.
So, yeah. So guys, I do have the document now. I can't see your changes on it, Dave. Kathy, thank you for sending it to me. Dave, I guess you just don't have the touch. That's the problem.
I guess
and
not
and I have on the list, I have Shelly and then Allison. Shelly, you're muted.
As a side note, this is probably the most interesting IBS meeting to watch for people. Just saying.
Well, first I want to apologize. I'm suffering from a migraine, so I really probably need to be in a dark room right now, but I'm trying to hang on. But my worry was the word and again, I'm not a principal, so I was appreciative of Matt's comments, but it just feels like if someone does first semester and does second semester, are you hiring twice? Are you able to retain that person you hired in first semester into second semester? I don't understand the hiring process. I'm not an administrator. I'd like somebody to talk about the and the problem of one semester versus both.
Matt, I think that's directed to you. Can you answer that?
Yeah, actually, Shelly, I hadn't been paying attention to the and or at all. I was more thinking about the deadlines. It kind of depends, you know, like if I knew someone was leaving now, I would probably try to hire a temporary position, right? And they'd actually have a job for the year, not long-term sub. That's always my first choice. Like I have someone out on maternity leave this year. She's taking the year. I hired a person. That's the best option as an employer. Once you go long-term sub, obviously it just depends. So yeah, I mean, if they were out first semester and going to be out again, hopefully I wouldn't have to rehire. That would be, obviously, if I was happy with the sub and they were happy with the building, I would love to keep them. So frankly, I hadn't thought about the and or part, to be honest.
Mila, could you comment on that piece?
Yeah, I think it maybe Shelly has a really good point. I think if somebody knows that they want to be out for the year and they can just tell us up front, that's really to our benefit. So I think maybe we go to an and or.
All right, I have Allison on the speaking list. I also want to draw your attention to the time. It's 5:43 right now, so you got a lot to do here. So go ahead, Shelly, or sorry, Allison.
Allison, my only comment is that it just at
that first sentence says for the fall semester, and if we're adding in spring semester as an option.
You could say one semester. Yeah, the semester.
Can you just take that whole for the semester out because it describes how much time you can have down below?
Yeah, could do that.
Okay. Anything else on your first paragraph there? Allison, your hands, oh, there you go. Thank you. You're good. You're good.
Okay, so we good with that first paragraph? Dave, you want to?
Oh, yeah, so let's do it. Yeah, let's call a question. So it says right now that we're offering this. You have 2 entry places with 3 kind of options. If you choose August 17th, you could choose just the semester, I suppose, or the year. And on our second entry option would be November 17th for the spring semester, that you would need to give notice to HR that you are taking an unpaid leave of absence. Can it, I'm sorry, I'm taking over, Dave. Sorry. Can I get a thumbs up?
No, you're good because I can't see the changes you've made. I can see the document. I just can't see the changes. So you're good. So
yeah, so thumbs up if you're good with that. Sideways, you can live with it. Down if you're like, nope, that's a no-go. I can't see everybody, Dave. Could you let us know?
I can see everybody. I think there's people thinking. So give us a minute. Sandy, I can't see your thumb. Thank you. Okay, yeah, you've got it. You've got it.
Okay.
I think the rest of this will go a little bit faster, to be honest with you. I think this was the nasty part of the conversation. Not nasty, but just like the gnarly part of it. So item 1, the district shall grant a leave of absence of up to 2 semesters within the same school year. I was going to actually make the suggestion that since we're talking about this particular school year, we just call out that although it says up at the top that it's only for this school year, just to reiterate, instead of within the same school year, say within the 2020-2021 school year without pay. So it says you can take up to 2 within this school year. If there are no comments, I'll give people a second. And then Dave, if you could call the question if nobody has comments.
Okay. I don't see any comments, so let me see your thumbs on number 1 with Dave's change. You've got that one.
Okay. Item 2 on the list. Certified educators shall continue benefits at their own expense per Article 24.11. This, Mila, just as this is kind of a question to you, just to clarify, this isn't meaning they're doing COBRA. This means they're cash paying their benefits. Is that correct?
Actually, I think they're doing COBRA.
So then if that's what we're offering, then we wouldn't want to call that out specifically, correct? Because they're using COBRA as the benefits, if that's what this is saying.
Yeah.
I see Allison.
Yep, Allison, you've got your hand up.
Quick question. When it says shall, maybe I don't know legal speak. Does that mean will, or is it like they may choose to?
Shall means they don't have a choice. If you apply for it by the deadline, it is granted.
No, but so the certified educator shall continue benefits. So it's like you will continue your benefits.
Well, it means that at their own expense. That means that the district's no longer covering benefits. Okay. So that there's not an option in that space.
I see. Okay, so I was just reading it because, like, if for me, I would get it through my husband before I would pay the COBRA price. So I was just reading
How
it.
you choose to get your benefits is up to you, right?
Yeah, up to you. That's why I was not reading.
Okay, Heather Espinoza.
Sorry. So 24.11.1 says it is the district benefits. Is that what we're saying, or we're saying it's COBRA?
So that was what my question was on to Mila. If we're not continuing benefits, like cash paying people's benefits, and they're going through COBRA, that's always someone's right when their benefits gets cut off because they're in unpaid status. So I was saying if we're not continuing like cash paying benefits, then we shouldn't have that, or the statement should be certified educators shall continue that benefits at their own expense through COBRA instead of per Article 24.11.
Agreed.
Or I should
We
say
can
at their
do
own
that.
expense. Yeah,
Mila,
sorry,
go ahead.
Mila.
2411 also routes people to COBRA. This is a matter of practice in the benefits. Our plan statements make us, if someone's not receiving pay, they have to go to COBRA. We don't keep them on cash pay any longer. Dave, that's an adjustment that's been made in our practices in the last year. So 2411 is COBRA too. It just doesn't say that, but I'm all for clarifying and being super clear with people.
So I'm kind of tagging in there parens in red, and people can say whether they like it through the COBRA. Is it system? Is that the right word? COBRA program?
Program.
Or the benefit, or the
Just say through the COBRA program.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. How's that
That's
look to
current
everybody?
practice.
Okay. All right, you ready, Dave?
There are no comments.
Yeah, I don't have any comments, so take a look at it real quick. Give you a second, and then I want to see
And we
your
will
thumbs.
we'll give everyone a moment or two. I apologize for us running a little late. We'll give everyone a moment or two to look over the whole document before calling the final question, just so that people don't feel like this is their last time to look at it.
Nancy, you have your hand up.
My question is, does that limit people from doing exactly what Allison said onto their own, like to their husbands or their wives?
No, that's I believe that's a qualifying event. You're changing, from a paid status to an unpaid status. And so I believe that would count as a qualifying event.
Okay.
I'll go off and double check that.
All right, I see no other hands. Let me see your thumbs. Oh yeah, I do see a hand. Marty.
I'm back to my original point about the placement of teachers if their position has been eliminated. Do we want to put language in there about they would go through Appendix E or, whatever process they would go through? Or does just saying they return to their original position ensure that they go through that process?
Let's touch that when we get to Article 5 or the point 5, which is the return from leave provision.
Okay.
But that's a good point. But that's in the return to leave section.
Okay, so let me see your thumbs on number 2, the way Dave's got it written.
And losing your health coverage is a qualifying event to re-enlist in other health coverage plans. So the Allison scenario would work.
Okay. The only one I don't see is Laura Mitchell. Okay, all right, you've got it.
The third
Sorry.
one, Dave and I talked a little bit about the other leave for employment requires that a person be with us for 6 years. We didn't think that was really applicable to this situation. However, we did feel like you should have worked for us for at least the past year in order to qualify for this. We feel like newly hired people who've been hired since March, know the world we're living in and would reasonably be assumed to be ready to take on that as a challenge. So we just really felt like you needed to have worked here for last school year to be eligible.
Okay.
Thank you for saying it way more politely than my snarky comments when we were looking at this together.
All right, I don't see any hands so far. So let me see I do see a hand. Laura. Leppy.
Just for Mila's comment. So is that in there? I can't see the document because I'm on my phone sitting on the floor. But is that in the document that if they were hired after March 1st, that they can't apply for this?
It just says that, oh, go ahead.
What it says is the certified educator shall have taught for the district for a minimum of 1 school year to be eligible. We have a definition of what a school year is, and it's having taught at least a semester or more, in some other parts of the agreement. So I think we just felt like if somebody was with us and got credit for 1 school year, then they they would be eligible for this.
Okay, I see
Thank
Laura's
you.
head nodding forward. So let me see your thumbs, guys. Number 3. You have consensus.
Number 4 talks about the certified educator shall not accrue temp time while on leave. This is a little bit more of an issue that is a topic for regular IVS that we'll have to deal with. But we do have some conflicting language and whatnot on when people are on leave, how they accrue leave or temp time. And so we just wanted to make it clear for this particular leave of absence that they are not accruing temp time while on leave. If it was one semester, that would be different. They'd get a semester's worth of leave. But if it's the full year, they get none of the leave. Mila, is there anything else you'd want to add on that?
It's standard practice right now when you're on like other employment leave or any of these unpaid leaves, parental leave. You don't accrue leave when you're out for this whole extended period of time. So I just wanted an abundance of clarity.
Laura, your hand's up. Or was that from last time? Okay, you're
That might be
good.
from last. Can you put, oh, lower hand, found it.
Yeah, okay, you bet, no problem. So any questions on number 4? I see none. Let me see your thumbs. You have consensus. Number 5, Dave.
So we'll break this up into 2 pieces. The A, because I think the B is kind of what Marty was referring to. So we're dealing with just the A part first. Upon return from leave of absence, the teacher shall not, and it should be educator, educator, shall not advance 1 step on the salary schedule if applicable, unless that, thank you for adding that, Mila, if applicable, unless and we'll need to do the same thing for that word, certified educator, taught 1 complete semester or more during the school year in which the leave occurred. This is standard language for the rest of our unpaid leaves of absence. So it's just kind of ported in from that space. So basically, if through negotiations this year, steps are granted, this person who took this leave would not get that step unless they served taught for 1 complete semester.
Okay. Look it over, and if you've got questions, we'll take them. Otherwise, I'm going to take the vote. I'm not seeing any questions, so let me see your thumbs on 5A. You have consensus.
Okay. So B, and I have a thought about how maybe to address what Marty was talking about. If folks says this is the language that this is the ported language from the other leaves of absences in our agreement. All of them state upon return from such leave of absence, the certified educator shall be placed in the position formerly held. If the certified educator's former position is not available, the certified educator shall be assigned to a comparable position for which the certified educator has an endorsement or equivalent. I think there's two additions that maybe might help, which would be there. Instead, we could say shall be placed in the position formerly held. If the certified educator's former position is not available, then the certified educator shall go through the my brain is skipping, but through the reassignment, transfers and reassignments process, or as laid out in Article 12, which includes Appendix E, what happens when you don't have your assignment, all of that that stuff. Does that, I don't know, does that Mila or Marty, who brought up that concern, does that sound like what you were thinking? What are your thoughts or others?
Yeah, that helps me. I just don't want people taking this leave and expecting that they're guaranteed their position no matter what, because I'm anticipating we will have budget shortfalls next year.
Mila?
Yeah, I think I'd like you to type that in there so I
Okay.
can see it. I'm visual.
But I mean, I didn't want to type it if people thought that was
Yeah.
not the right.
No, I know,
the right-
but I think it's on the right track.
All right. So what that would be is the certified education shall be sorry, I'm reading and typing at the same time, and it's not. It's certified educator.
And Dorman, as soon as he's done, I'll take your question, okay?
Be reassigned.
We're at time, but I'm feeling like we're on a roll. If we can just go another 5-8 minutes, maybe we can get this thing tonight. You
Everybody
with
okay? Everybody okay with that? I see a lot of nodding heads, Mila, so.
Doesn't it
7
have to be
minutes.
shall?
Oh
Instead
no,
of will?
maybe, probably. I'm trying to put my thought out, and then I was gonna hurry it
Okay.
up. Sorry.
I'm channeling Linda. It's okay.
And you guys are making me do the thing I hate. This is the chore. You're talking about chores, wordsmithing via Google Docs.
In
by Google
public.
is my,
In public,
is my
yeah.
least favorite. Yes.
Public
Process
wordsmithing.
through the process described in should not be in described in Article 12. All right.
So Dorman, question?
So Article 12 is the exact same process you'd go through if you were actually teaching the class. So this is no different for the person on leave or for the position that's in the building. Am I correct on that?
Yeah, so it basically just describes what we just said previously about our practice about people returning from leave, but just specifically points them to the article and the information that, so they know what would happen, so they can look at it. So it talks about, you know, it references going through Appendix E if the position's not available, and just doing all of that mutual consent hiring, and that all of that is located in Article 12. And it would just, what part of Article 12 would depend on the individual circumstance that the position and the educator finds themselves in. But it's much easier to just describe the whole, reference the article versus the specific part, because there are so many different variations of what could be happening.
Okay.
But the spirit of it is to preserve this person's employment status and to treat them, like to your point, Dorman, as if they had been here all the time. And that does that.
Okay. Other questions on B or the changes that Dave just made in B? Laura Mitchell.
So it's probably just me, but define, for me, it's not it's we're going to put them back in their position that they formerly held. And then we say, if the position is not available, is that just something that everybody knows? That what does not available mean? That
Unfortunately, it could mean a lot of things, right? It could be a program change, could be reduction in force due to enrollments, or district-wide reduction in force, program that is not, like, if we're, you know, we had people on leave of absence when we got rid of, you know, our traditional librarians in the district and that kind of stuff. And so there are so many scenarios. That's a common phrase in agreements, and is used many other places in the agreement.
so every educator knows, they know what that means. I'm the one that.
I'm not going to make that promise, Laura. I'm going to say when they call me, it'll be very easy for me to explain, or someone in HR, or, you know, whatnot.
Other questions? I'll give you just a few seconds here to see if there's anything else. I don't want to rush you. Okay, let me see your thumbs on 5B. You have consensus. All right, good job.
So sorry, Dave.
No, go ahead.
Trying
Go
to
ahead.
go fast.
Oh, you're good.
So
You're good.
I put a asterisk at the bottom of this document after listening to Mila talk, and it's in red there. Just because I was wondering if we needed to capture what she was saying around people who have applied for medical accommodations, and those accommodations, I don't know if the right phrase is can't be met or wasn't met or don't feel like they've been met. I don't know what the right phrase would be, but saying that those folks can apply for the take this leave of absence outside of the 2 deadlines was what I heard Mila say, and I wanted to capture that in the document, but definitely open it up for people to discuss or whatnot.
Colleen.
Mine has nothing to do with what Dave just asked.
Okay, yeah, I guess you can go ahead and ask it anyway.
I was just wondering about Kathy's concern earlier about the privately funded pods out there that a teacher could take this leave and then go and still work in a pod outside of our school. I didn't know if her concern was met or not.
It's not met in here. I'll just speak from like a general place. We try really hard not to be the leave of absence police. People do things in good faith, and we operate in good faith. And if people choose to break that good faith, there's going to be other repercussions. With professional relationships and others. I don't think personally, and Mila may disagree, and I'm fine with that too, but I don't think it's our role as a body here or as a district to police that kind of conduct. If you're willing to take, even, I saw one of those postings online for our average paid educator, they'd be taking a 50% pay cut and not benefits paid and a whole lot of other things. If that's really what you need to do to make you safe in this environment, then, I don't know if that's, I don't know. I don't see that happening, especially in our current learning model. But, I don't want to speak for everybody in that space.
All right. Anything else on that?
I just didn't know whether Kathy felt like her concern was dealt with, because we never really talked about it.
Kathy, can you answer that question?
Thank you, Colleen. That's very nice. I just wanted to put it in the room. I guess, I'm just reading all the coverage. It isn't related to, and I know in certain circles where probably there's even more of the private school population, it's a more appealing financial option. And I just didn't know, it seemed like, well, if you can't take a leave of absence to go work for another district, right? I just didn't know the parameters. And if we're not in the position of, looking at that kind of thing, I don't want to add it. And I do agree, there probably aren't a lot of incentives. And I do think we have a really good work ethic, and teachers know the impact on public education that we're facing, I hope, but I also know people are pretty desperate. And so I just wanted to put it out there just to see if there was any rules around it. So thank you for checking in, but I'm good with it not being mentioned.
Shelly. Shelly, you're muted.
Sorry. I just point out again, when we were discussing earlier, there's already an option to leave for other employment. I don't know, it seems like we're kind of arguing or not arguing, but we're discussing a point that's already managed in another forum in the contract.
Okay. All right. So Dave, go
Sorry,
ahead.
Dave. Mila has retyped a different version of the document that I deleted my version because I liked her version way better. So good job, Mila. See, She wrote in, for those that can't read it, certified educators engaged in the accommodation process through HR shall be granted a waiver of the deadline to apply at the conclusion of their accommodations process. So, basically it says if you're in that, if you've applied through HR and at the end of it, you're still don't feel good about coming to work based on what's been decided through that process, the deadlines are waived. That's going to be a relatively small number of people and, whatnot.
Sandy.
Now, is that referring to the possibility of those 248 or 240 something people who may or may not get through their accommodations process, as we're calling it, by Monday? Is that
That's
who we're
right.
addressing there? Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
And some of those people may not get accommodations. Like some of them, when it comes down to it, Mila and I had this conversation earlier today, their doctor is not writing down remote work, right? Like their doctor is saying they need just as much PPE as you can provide them, but as long as you can provide that, at KN95, I don't know, I'm making stuff up, I'm not a doctor, but if you can, as long as you can provide them that KN95 mask, they're good to go back to work. But they did in good faith engage in this process. They requested remote work. Their doctor and all of us kind of at the end of the said it wasn't a medical necessity. We're giving those educators who tried to make this school year work through that accommodations process a waiver to that deadline. So they don't all, that 200 and whatever, don't make a decision out of fear. They make a decision at the conclusion of their process.
Heather Espinoza. Oops, sorry. Dave.
I just want to make sure, Mila, that's kind of,
Yep.
yeah, okay.
You got it.
Heather Espinoza.
I might not have an answer to this question, but by November 17th, will folks have enough information to make an informed decision for second semester? Like, will we know what it's going to look like by then?
No.
Well, I think that's actually a question to go to. No, yeah, it's to Chris. Around a deadline for making a choice for the learning model for second semester. I know we picked the 17th, but that's an excellent question. And I would toss that probably to Chris, and he's probably going to say, I can foresee it already. Oh, like, I don't know, Dave, why you're asking me this question.
Chris?
Fair question. I think given that we have this timeline that we're working through here, setting up in terms of November 17th, we would have that as a benchmark, and we would be rolling out our tentative plans, our best laid plans earlier in the month so that people have a window to evaluate how that decision plays into their leave interest for second semester. There's always an asterisk that if something happens from mid-November into January that changes what we're thinking is the safe and right thing to do, that we might be having to recalculate things. But in a perfect world, by like in November 10th, I would see us saying this is what we're planning to do for second semester, so people have a week to make some decisions.
Sandy, your hand's up. You're good? Okay. All right. So any other questions before we take the vote on, I assume it's still in red. I didn't, I can't see the changes, so.
Yeah, it is in red. I was just going to suggest that if I put it as an asterisk just as now, we could also put it as we may format it into the rest of the document for a final version. But I just want to read it one more time since not everyone has up-to-date access to it, just so we're 100% clear about what we're deciding on. So as it is currently written, it says certified educators engaged in the accommodations process through HR shall be granted a waiver of the deadline and may be eligible to apply at the conclusion of their accommodations process.
Okay. Give you a few seconds to process, and then I'm going to ask for your thumbs on it. All right, where are your thumbs? Oh, Deborah, you had a question, sorry.
Sorry, it was kind of last minute. So just on a clarification, Mila, would that they have to pay back the money for the week or the 2 weeks if it went into like September 1st?
Yeah, and that's part of what we would be able to do with them. So we're wrapping up the accommodations process. We're saying, here's the accommodation that we are medically able to provide and that your work duties allow. And, you have an option at this point, if this is, we know if they're happy or not.
Right.
You have an option at this point, if you choose to apply for unpaid leave, to do so. Let me give you a caveat. You just got a paycheck for August. And if you do apply for that, you're going to have to repay it. Because prorated for days you didn't work, blah, blah, blah. But we would talk them through it rather than people just stumbling into it unawares.
Okay, I just wanted that clarification again. Thank you.
All right, now let me see your thumbs, folks. And you have consensus. Very good.
Okay.
All right.
So now I would like everyone just to read over the whole body of the whole document, and then we can do a thumbs up or a conversation about the rest of it.
And Lori, you have a question, go ahead.
So just back to the August 17th and the November 17th, I just make the statement that on August 17th, they're making a decision and they don't know what we're going to do on September 11th. In November 17th, I don't know that, if the district isn't ready to make a decision by that date because of where we are and what the data, we may be in the same place to not be able to make a decision and be definitive about what's going to happen as well, right?
Right. I think our thinking is that a person has to just look at the totality of what they do know to the best of their ability, and they need to make a decision. They will know some things about trends of the virus, what's happening in the public health space. They may not know the details of our instructional plan, but we will try in good faith to give a good sense of what that looks like. But yeah, you're right. There's no certainty. There hasn't been all along, and there won't be now.
That was the comment I was going to make. I mean, right now, everyone's making decisions, has to make decisions based on what they believe and what is best for them and their families. And, the learning model of the district is only one component of it, right? Your risk factors of going in or not going in. It's a huge decision for everybody, and we're all making it from our own place. And, the same thing could be said, like you gave us until November 17th. After Christmas break, everybody went and got themselves sick, and now there's a gigantic community spread outbreak all across Colorado. I think you district are not going to remote. I want to take a lead. With this virus right now, those kind of scenarios could be all over the place. The same thing could happen November 17th, and all of a sudden community spread, everything else goes to zero by January. Now I feel safe to come back, and we're still having a hard conversation about what to do about if you want to requesting to cancel your leaves and all other kinds of other things. That this is I see this as providing options for folks in a space where they don't have an option, with the goal of making it easier for people to make decisions and to retain as many employees for the 21-22 school year, which is really weird to say at the beginning of the 2021 school year, but preserve as many high quality educators for the 21-22 school year as possible.
All right, so Dave, I'm assuming you want him to look over the document, give us a thumbs up on the entire document. Is that correct? So if you could do that fairly quickly, you're 18 minutes past the time, but we're good, and we'll make it a very short checkout when we get there.
Just as a reference for folks, Mila moved the asterisk into the first paragraph. So it says the same thing, it just moved into the bottom sentence of the first paragraph if you're looking for it or notice it there.
Okay.
Just felt like, since we're talking about deadlines, we could just say it right there. If you're not okay with that, it's just a suggestion.
Okay, I'll give you a few seconds here, and then I'm going to call for the vote. All right, where are your thumbs? You have consensus. Good work, folks.
Okay, so next steps for us, Dave and I need to stay on and we'll hammer out a shared communication and we will send it tonight. And because all these people who are waiting and wondering if they should apply, but need to know that this was a tentative agreement. We're going to continue this work and these discussions next week on the 20th, but I'd like to share this drafted language in the shared communication.
All right. So are you ready for checkout then, Mila, Dave? Anything else for the good of the order?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Are we gonna do have a conversation about workload stuff or?
Yeah, we ran out of time, so that'll be top of the agenda on the 20th. And I am predicting we're going to need another period of time for this work, these conversations. So Dave and I will start looking at some calendar dates for that. These 2 hours just aren't enough. We get some steam going, and then
yeah. They sure aren't. So, all right. So let's do a quick checkout. 2 words. How you're feeling about this? And we're going to start with you, Sandy.
Yeah, this group always makes me feel better. Nervous at the start, feel better at the end. Thanks, everybody.
Matt.
Good work.
Mila.
Back already.
Allison.
Feel like that felt good. The TA something.
Teresa.
Feeling good. Great work. Go team.
Deborah.
I really appreciate putting something into place for teachers that are struggling. Awesome. Thank you.
Shelly. Shelly's still there. Or she gone? Shelly's gone. Heather Espinoza.
High five.
Colleen.
Good options.
Bo.
Good and good.
Chris.
Nice job.
Heather Gracious.
All good, thank you.
Kathy.
Thoughtfully done.
Laura Mitchell.
Another step.
Marty.
Good work.
Dave Lockley.
Always impressed.
Laura Leppi.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Nancy.
Hopeful for many.
Dorman.
Sí se puede.
Kristen.
Nice job.
And for me, it's can't count. All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next week. Same time, same place, huh? All right. Take care.
Good night, all. Stay on, Dave.
I didn't go anywhere.